Oh my God, do we have problems here? Wow, do we have problem with the pathetic, pitiful, soft Knicks? What's going on, everybody? How are you? BT Unleashed, of course. Guys, there's two choices at this point. There's really not much else to say, although I do have a lot to say. But really, I'm not going to bury the lead. You either change the coach or you change the players, period. Like there's no longer evaluation. Well, are they going to figure it out? Well, the Knicks are having a little bit of a rough patch. The Knicks are broken right now. There's no doubt about it. The New York Knicks is currently constituted are going absolutely nowhere. And I got to tell you, by now, I'm not a Carl Anthony Towns. I don't know if I want to use the word fan believer, like ultimate believer. Like I'm a fan of some of his skill for sure. But I've been all over him because I do think he's lazy and sloppy and all the things that I've said. But I think a lot of the energy that is going toward Carl Anthony Towns right now, it's really kind of a curveball to other stuff that's problematic for this team. But I really think it's an oversimplification when so many of you just say it's all Cat's fault. It's all Cat's fault. It's that is not actually true. Now, he's probably at this point more of an issue than a solution. And Leon Rose got to wake up. I mean, since Leon Rose, some of the things that he's done recently, whether it's the bench, you can now argue about Mike Brown being the right hire. I mean, everything's in play at this point. You got February 5th to fix this. You've got until February 5th to find out what you're going to do to pivot, and it can't be a little tweak, the eighth man or the seventh man. Like, to me, it's bulldozer time. You got to take a wrecking ball to this Knicks team. Obviously, you're not giving up Jalen Brunson, anybody else that you want, and I like OG, but if it's going to take OG sacrifice to get rid of something else, to entice somebody to make a trade, to make something happen, you got to do it. I mean, the window is like this for Jalen Brunson's prime and Jalen Brunson's very favorable contract. So, if I'm James Dolan, who was on the Fan a week or so ago telling everybody, we're going to win the championship, it's my expectation to get to the NBA Finals and win. Well, if he's truly thinking that, and I believe that he is, I believe that he was forthright when he said that, well, then there is no way he's going to be accepting of this. So things need to change. I'm obviously going to outline what I believe that they could do, what they should do. Let me first start kind of in sequential order because I think there's two, and depends upon how you view Cat and Tibbs, but you're either in the school of, Tom Thibodeau should still be coaching this team, which I don't agree with. I don't agree with that. Now, you can also make the case that Mike Brown shouldn't be coaching this team. That seems much more sensible to me. But understand this, guys. If you're going to jump on the train of, look what the Knicks are without Tom Thibodeau. Look at the Knicks' aversion to defense, which, by the way, statistically is very provable. If you're going to do all this stuff, you also have to calculate the fact that not once, not twice, 3 times, 3 straight years, the New York Knicks under Tom Thibodeau's watch with home court advantage lost in the playoffs with home court advantage. So I think 2 things could be true. Like the Knicks might be a little bit worse off without Tom Thibodeau in terms of the principles, in terms of the connectivity, but that doesn't mean that they made the wrong move. Now, the third aspect in terms of getting rid of him, the third aspect is, all right, maybe they hired the wrong guy. Maybe it's a little bit too soft. It's a little bit too, it's lacking connectivity. Like the Knicks are a disjointed, fumbling, bumbling circus right now. You fall behind 30 points to the Dallas Mavericks on Martin Luther King Day, which was always a day. No matter how shitty the Knicks were, the Knicks always played. I'm not saying they won every single MLK Day, but if you're a Knicks fan, before the rest of the NBA really, made Martin Luther King Day a central theme in terms of the scheduling, really owned the day, which is great. Like the Knicks were always playing there, and the Knicks were always doing things with pride, even lesser teams. I mean, there were a lot of great moments on MLK Day. Yesterday, they're down by 30 to the Dallas Mavericks. They get booed off the court, which they deserve. Of course, Ben Stiller's out here tweeting, everything's going to be fine. I am really, Ben. I mean, listen. And then he dropped another tweet where I think you wrote the letter F and didn't want to, throw out the other 3 letters, which is fine. And it was like F dash, 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 dash. Well, if Ben Stiller is alarmed, Mr. Positivity, no matter what's going on with the Knicks, it's never bad. Like Ben Stiller is, to me, he's just too optimistic. Like he's delusionally optimistic. So if you got Ben Stiller now digging in, saying that the Knicks have problems, we got problems, which, by the way, I've told you for a while now. I told you a couple of shows ago that the Knicks are broken, that they got to do something. All right, so again, the pecking order of issues right now. It's either Mike Brown, then Cat, then or Cat, then Mike Brown, and obviously you tie into the absence of Tom Thibodeau. But as I just said, like the Knicks with Tom Thibodeau, we're never getting to that next level. I can't prove it because he's not coaching this team anymore. But I believe in my eyes, and I trust my basketball sensibilities enough. Not that I'm always right, obviously, but enough, especially with basketball and especially with that team, that they hit the ceiling. All right, Tom Thibodeau's not a 2 or 3-time NBA champion. He's in his, early to mid-60s, whatever he is. He's a coaching lifer. He's a hell of a coach, but he's got no championship. So to say that this team would be more championship viable with Tom Thibodeau, I just think is wrong, because there's really no evidence that Tom Thibodeau is going to morph into that kind of a coach at this point, stuck in his ways and all the things we dissected a million ways forward. It's not to relitigate the Tom Thibodeau era. It's to cross the bridge and get to what is really staring at us right now. And right now, you see, the biggest issue, all right, and we knew the defense would be problematic coming into the season because you got a turnstile at point guard and you got a slow, plodding fire hydrant at the 5. So you got two guys out there who are not average or slightly below average. They are wretched, absolutely wretched, just horrendously deficient NBA defensive players. And oh yeah, by the way, I know that the wings are really important, but they're also two very, very important. Like if your power forward is a little, whatever, you can kind of hide him unless you're playing against a 4 who's stepping out and, taking you off the bounce and hitting threes, whatever. But if you're a point guard, the first like line of defense is awful, well, now you're in the paint. And what happens? When you're in the paint, guys got to collapse. When guys collapse, boom, you get open shots everywhere. Why do you think the Knicks can't defend the 3-point shot? It's not because OG and Bridges aren't good, although I think, and I'm going to get to Bridges in a minute. I'm going to crush Bridges today. I'm sick of Bridges really avoiding any sort of heat, but I'll get to him after, all right? So when your point guard is deficient defensively, you're in the paint, you're passing all over. Guys are wide. Guys are scurrying around, like try to recover, try to help out. And then you get open looks. And if you have a good passing team that you're playing against, even if you recover to the first shooter, it's one pass around the perimeter, that guy's open. So that's a massive problem. Even if it's Tom Thibodeau, Red Holtzman, Phil Jackson, Pat Riley, Greg Popovich, if they were to come back as one coach, like reincarnated as one, right? There is nothing from a principal perspective or obviously from whatever he lacks athletically. None of those guys combined are going to save Jalen Brunson from getting roasted defensively on a consistent basis. So that's the first problem. And then obviously you start getting around the rim. And when Mitch is in there, it's great. When Cat's in there, he's slow, he's a plotter, he's lazy, he's with these ridiculous fouls on the offensive end. So there are things that are going to obviously, take away from the Knicks' ability to win at a very, very high level. And that's a big problem. I mean, that's a big, big problem. By the way, I appreciate that. And the Fed. Thank you, buddy. Keeping up the great work. BT, rooting for your success. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm all sorts of fired up. So I'm not even looking at the text chain. If you got something to say, obviously my guy Jared's going to pump some stuff in. If it's a super chat, it's going to jump out more. I am just locked into the show. I got no time to waste, all right? Although I will read stuff that comes on the screen. Then I'm getting right back to this. So Thibodeau's gone. Brown's drowning. Cat's a disaster. Brunson's a problem with what I just outlined. And the biggest issue, and I didn't see this one coming. Again, I saw the defensive deficiencies because we saw them last year. And the year before. The one thing, even without Cat, the one thing that I really did not envision with this team, the Nova Knicks, even though DiVincenzo, who is a bowler and my guy, and I missed Dante DiVincenzo when he had some sack, that he had some balls, some stones that this team could sorely use and is sorely lacking, right? But the Nova Knicks were tight and there was this great chemistry and this great unity. This Knicks team, they don't even like each other. It is so obvious. It's one thing to lose. All right, you win the cup. Big damn deal, the cup, right? So you win the cup, and maybe there's a little hangover. It's the holidays. Whatever. All right, they'll figure it out. They've got championship pedigree. No, they've lost 3 straight years despite having home court advantage, as I've said. So when I hear Miles, I love Deuce. I have nothing to say negatively about Deuce. I know he had a rough game yesterday, but Deuce plays hard. Deuce is a scorer. Deuce can defend. Deuce is a baller. He's got a heartbeat, and he's got pride. Deuce is the man. I love him, all right? But when Deuce McBride comes out and says that, I paraphrase, along the lines of, maybe we became a little bit too confident. And, maybe winning the cup was a false sense of security. Winning the cup was are you out of your mind? A false sense of security? Let me get this straight. Now, I'm not saying this, right? I'm not saying I didn't enjoy, like, as the cup progressed, I jumped in a little bit. I leaned in. I enjoyed watching it with my son. Knicks won it. You had a couple of good high-level games. I thought it would really, kind of sharpen them as you get deeper into the season. I thought it would be a good unifying thing for the Knicks team. So with that being said, I understand the way the NBA goes. You play 82 times. Even if you're a team that's dialed in, you got 10, 12 nights where you don't have it. And it looks like a combination of incredible inefficiency and a lack of interest, right? That happens to anybody. But it can't happen for 3 weeks straight. And it can't happen when shitty teams come in your house and mop the floor with you and do whatever they want. The Dallas Mavericks, who are injured and going nowhere, put up 75 on you when it should be the highest sense of urgency for the Knicks. 75, okay? And oh, yeah, by the way, in this stretch where the Knicks have lost 9 of 11, their defense is bottom 5 in the NBA. Now, if you have a great offense, and even that's taken a little turn in the wrong direction, when you have a great offense, I don't need you to be a top 10 defense. Now, if you are, well, now you're a team that can obviously really, truly mess around and think of yourself as a true, viable, justifiably speaking title contender, right? If you are a top 5 offense and you're like even 13 or 14 on defense, you could work around that enough, and you could probably still mess around and at least maybe get to, depending on the matchups, how favorable they are or they are not, and then get to the championship, maybe mess around, maybe win something. But when you are no longer the offense that was revered early and was just explosive and unstoppable, and suddenly, well, not even suddenly, because it's now basically over a month, and all year they've had an inability to defend the three-point stripe. So it's not just they're giving up points now. They've been awful defending the three-point shot from minute one. And I don't know why, because you got why I do, because I just told you a little bit. But when you have wings, you shouldn't be that bad. You should at least be functional. But when the offense takes a step back and the defense takes 9, it's a wrap, dude. So Dolan and Leon Rose have two very, very simple options here. Number one, you fire the coach. Number two, you trade somebody of importance like Cat. That's it. Like, there's no waiting around anymore. Maybe they'll figure out it's over. It's a wrap. Knicks are cooked. They're emotionally fried. There is no longer any synergy with this team. Again, you look at them in the timeouts, they can't stand each other. And you could get away with that in baseball. You want to tell me, go back to like the Mets like 2 years ago. All right, Lindor and McNeil weren't buddies, but they still won almost 90 games, made a nice run. In baseball, you could do that. It's more individually driven. Like a little different if you're a double play combo, I get that. But if Lindor, and forget about Lindor and McNeil, if player X hates player Y and player X bats first and the other guy bats fifth, what's the correlation there? You get your 4 at-bats, I get my 4 at-bats, you do what you do, I do what I do, and we'll see what happens. And if you're good players and you do what you're paid to do, you will still win despite maybe some tension or some breakdowns in relationships. In the NBA, same with hockey, but I'm going to stick to the NBA now. In the NBA, if there is no connectivity and if there is a general lack of joy and distaste for one another and working with each other, I'm not going to help you on the weak side. I'm not going to set that extra screen quite with the oomph that I should to free you up. I'm going to get my shot. And once that happens one night, then it's a little easier to do it again. And then it's a little bit easier to do it again. And then it becomes a habit. And once that becomes a habit, well, now it's at this point of the season, I think it's impossible to disrupt that habit. So it is a call. I'm not trying to mince words. I'm not trying to beat around the bush. You trade Cat or you fire Mike Brown. You figure it out, Knicks. You figure it out, Leon Rose. I mean, because everything you've done so far coming into the season has not worked out. I mean, Jordan Clarkson's had some good games. Okay, whatever. Yabusele has been an absolute disaster. The coach that you brought in is not getting the job done. The star players don't have chemistry and continuity. The wing, right? The 2-guard wing that you gave up 9,000 first-round picks for and a ton of money is an absolute softie. I am so tired of watching Mikal Bridges. Can somebody explain to me how he doesn't get criticized more often. That's why I said, guys, really, to me, this whole evaluation of who the Knicks are, where they are right now, and more importantly and more specifically, where they're ultimately going to go, it's an oversimplification just to say, Cat, he's soft, get rid of Cat. I'm okay with getting rid of Cat. But if you think that that's the only issue, it's not, which is my point. How in the world, in the modern NBA, can you be a small forward / guard, okay? And in the last 5 games, 4 of those games, and I'm talking about Bridges, take not a single free throw. 5 games, 4 attempts, all 4 came in 1 game. I mean, how do you not get to the stripe? Unless you are just inherently soft, which Mikal Bridges is. He's soft. They made the wrong move. They took all the chips that they collected, which was such a good thing and such a smart thing and such a forward-thinking thing, right? Leon Rose, the concept was right. Hey, we'll take some shots. We know that we're not just going to win with Tom Thibodeau and Julius Randle. I'm talking about when they overachieved and made the playoffs during COVID. That was fun. That was a culture. That was raising the floor. That was raising the ceiling, and we all loved it. But Leon Rose, rightfully so, was smart enough to know that there was a real visible expiration point on that. So you start making some moves. And the move that you made for Mikal Bridges is just an awful move. That's it. I've seen enough. I'm done with Mikal Bridges. If you can ship him out and get somebody with some tenacity in here and keep Cat, I'd actually be okay with that. And you guys know that I'm not a big Karl Anthony Towns fan because what he's bad at kills you when it matters, number one. And when you're bad at something this long in your career, well, guess what? You're always going to be bad at it. If you're a high strikeout guy and you're in your, like Ryan McMahon, right? The Yankees are saying Ryan McMahon's going to cut down his strikeouts. We're going to unlock this. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. When you strike out 200 times a year and you're 30 years old, you are what you are. You're a great fielder, you got a little pop, and you're a whiff machine. How is that going to change? He's going to suddenly hit 265 with 101 strikeouts instead of 212? Doesn't work that way. It's not the way it goes. Like, this is the same concept, right, that I tell my kids, whether it's school, whether it's sports, kids I coach. Hey, if that kid's better than you, go do something about it. Now, there are certain things inherently that you really can't control. If somebody jumps higher than you, if somebody's bigger, strength you could obviously increase, but no matter how many times Peter Brady hung on the monkey bars on the Brady Bunch, you're not gonna lengthen yourself. You're not gonna get taller by hanging on, trying to stretch yourself. All right. So there's certain things that just will not change. And the things that will not change with this Knicks team have them doomed. It is over. It is a wrap. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say. And I don't care what you say. It's over. Like, if you want to give this team another 7 days to figure it out, go knock yourself out. I'm done. I've tapped out. It's over. Mercy. Like, you cannot have this happen this long and think that you're an NBA contender for the championship. What are we, delusional here? Well, I mean, is this fanboy podcast? Not this one. I'm not doing that. They have no pride. That's the most disgraceful part about this. They got no pride. They're always chirping at each other. And really, listen, guys, the signs have been so visible, which is why when I came on, oh God, was that Friday? I don't even know what day it was. Maybe it was Friday. Yeah, I think it was. Maybe. Yeah. After the Golden State game, when nobody came to Cat's defense. And then, by the way, Draymond again punking him on the podcast. Yeah, he loves his dad, but yet all he does is shit all over Karl Anthony Towns. And nobody did a damn thing about it, including the head coach who was hugging him for the entire basketball community and free world to see. Oh, my man, what's going on? What's up, brother? I know you won together. It's an awful look for the guys that you're coaching now, especially the guy that you're supposed to have his back on. You know what I mean? Like, Draymond just did whatever he wanted. Cat didn't resist it. Nobody did. And the coach made it worse. So every conceivable aspect of this team sucks right now. And to me, it is terminal. It is a terminal basketball affliction. It's over. It's a wrap. They're done. Make trades, make changes, break it down, do whatever you got to do, because this team is going nowhere. And I even said the other day, and I feel more emboldened to say it now, but I really believe this, that the Knicks are closer. Think about what I'm about to say here, based on what we thought they would be coming into the season and when they were 23-9 at one point during the season, right? Before losing 9 of 11. I actually think right now, depending upon the matchup, all right, And really, it might not even matter as much with the matchup because what's hurting the Knicks at this point, they can lose to anybody, as evidenced by yesterday and other. You lost to the Suns twice in 5 days. Then you get your face handed to you at the Garden on MLK Day with a full house. You give up 75 in the first half, and you get booed back to the locker room. And what do? Nothing. All right. So anyway, I really believe that the Knicks are closer to getting bounced in round one than they are getting to, forget about the NBA championship, than they are getting to the conference finals. It's a joke. Like, this is the year. Brown's hurt. This guy's banged up. This guy got traded. This guy's out. All set up. Not only all set up to just kind of coast into the conference finals, right? But win, 58, 59, 60 games, have like a real memorable season. Instead, it is just falling apart at the seams. So Cat's not happy. There's no team unity. Mike Brown's not fixing it. And reportedly, they have had trade discussions with Memphis. Report came out, I believe, last night, or maybe late in the day. Memphis, Orlando, and Charlotte. So they know they got a problem, and at least I'm going to give them a little bit of credit. Now, they've got to make sure it happens, like just to make exploratory calls or to take a call and have a very cursory conversation. Yeah, we might trade Cat. No, you got to trade them. You got to trade somebody. So the fact that they're in the middle of these conversations tells me that they know that they're broken. So at least that gives me an ounce of solace here. But my God almighty, this is just unacceptable for the New York Knicks. Unacceptable. Wow. Mikal Bridges, So listen to this stat. So we know he doesn't get to the free throw line a lot. Although, again, I think 2 or 3 years ago, he did like 6.3 or something like that with Phoenix. And now I know it's also, guys, I get this. It's also a byproduct of the offense, and Brunson's getting up 20 shots a game and Cat's getting his. I get that. OG's got to eat a little bit. But how in the world can you be an athletic, bouncy 2-guard / small forward and take 1.1 free throw attempts per game? I think that I average that more in CYO taking technical foul shots when the other coach got teed up. 1.1, not 2.9 or 2.4 or 3.1. That is good for 189th in the NBA. Mikal Bridges. So you guys could shit all over Cat, and he could dump all over Mike Brown. Save some of that energy for Mr. Softy in Mikal Bridges. Doesn't show an ounce of resistance, not an ounce of toughness in him. Like, where is it? How do you not know that before you make that trade and give up everything that you collected wisely to give yourself one massive swing to align somebody or multiple people with Jalen Brunson on a low team-friendly contract in his absolute prime? It's all withering away. Eventually, again, the ankle's been a little bit of an issue for Brunson. He's a horrid defender. He's only going to get worse. And then the contract's going to get more. And I'm not validating for him to move on from Brunson or for them to move on. I love Jalen Brunson. But the other things around Jalen Brunson got to be set up the right way. And when you got a softy at the 5 spot and a softy in Bridges, you got problems here. And as I said before, they are terminal. This Knicks team will win nothing. Nothing at all. Now, the lack of resistance is what's bothering me the most. It seems like every good Knick team has that fight, that spark, that grit, that tenacity, that real love for what they're doing, that lunch pail attitude. Josh Hart's got it. Deuce has it. OG's got it most nights. That's about it. Kolic's got it, but he don't even play anymore, except if it's garbage time. So wow. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything statistically here. Let me put the shades on here. Yeah, the shades. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, you could complain about Tibbs. They weren't going to win with him. You can complain about Cat. It's deeper than Cat. So there are real legitimate problems with this team. Bottom 5 defensively during the span of losing 9 of 11. Bottom freaking 5. And all you hear is, oh, the Knicks have 2 tenacious, terrific wing defenders. How the hell are you bottom 5? I don't need you to be, Ewing, Oak, Mace, Harper, Starks, laying it out defensively. Bottom 5? With 2 wings who've got some length and can move? What? 75 points in the first half to Dallas? I'll tell you, man. I can't. I don't know what to tell you here. I don't know. All right, this one just caught my eye. At Robert McGuire 1068. I really enjoy the show, but I listen with my kids. I can't continue when there's cursing. It also comes as unprofessional at times. I wanted to share the feedback because I value the content. I appreciate that. I've got kids as well. This is when it's appropriate, it's going to fly. And I don't mean that to sound callous. I don't mean to sound dismissive there. It's a big boy podcast here, and things are going to be said that need to be said. Now, I'm not just going to gratuitously drop F-bombs. I'm never going to turn into that person. But when I'm revved up and when the moment matches and I'm feeling it, it's going to happen. I don't even plan for it to happen. It's just going to happen. So those are things I couldn't do on radio. Those are things I could do here. I am aware of it, and I am very I am sensitive to it to an extent. But, I've got to put out the best show. And I believe, the best shows, especially for me, being a raw, emotional person, I believe that me, again, as long as it's not unfounded or just slide it in there to sound tough or cool, which I'm not trying to do, it's obviously just, part of my exchange when I'm riled up. And I believe it meets the moment. I don't believe I've said anything so far today that is out of bounds. So I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to necessarily change there. I'm not. But I do understand what you're saying, Robert. I get it. It's not going to be a constant stream. Don't worry. By the way, kids should be in school right now. It's 10 o'clock. I mean, that's just the way it's going to be. That's the way it's got to be. There's a reason why it's called Unleashed. It's no barriers. It's no filters. It's no limits. It's really no rules except me remaining true to who I am. And that means, being up to speed with what's going on, being as passionate as anybody, and letting it rip. I mean, there were times I was cursed on the fan, and you can't, but it's a little bit of a different platform here. I get that, but I'm not dismissive there, Robert. I really understand it, and but that's my answer there. All right. So, by the way, when you guys send in the message, I told you this the other day, right? When you send in the messages and you want to get something off your chest, let me know where you're coming from. I want to know where you are. Listen, I know we're obviously tri-state heavy, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, but more and more, sometimes I'll go back after it on YouTube and I will look at you can actually see the entire panel, like the entire message board for the duration of the show. And I'll do that for research purposes. If I missed anything, try to connect some dots. That's just me doing my homework. And I notice a lot of you are checking in from Florida or the Carolinas or out west or even Australia or other Greece. So it's pretty cool to see that because I don't look at this as just like a territorial, even though most of the content, at least in terms of and I'll get to the national championship game in a bit, something that's good for the Jets potentially. And I like to know where you guys are at. It just gives me better understanding and it just gives me a more complete feel of what's going on with the show. Yeah. Oh, by the way, obviously, like it, subscribe it, get all that stuff. How's the new camera? Hey, Jared. So, by the way, is Jared awake? Is Jared here? Is Jared good?
Hello.
Yo,
how's it going,
man? Jared in the house. So, if you're new to the show today, or if you missed yesterday's show, but you've been here for the inception going back to December 22nd, not even 1 month yet, Jared officially on board, contract signed. He is in the trenches. He is on, I wouldn't quite say the ground floor, when I was putting together these low-resolution thumbs and my, at that point, 10-year-old son was producing and doing a great job. But he is now my official producer. And I told him, listen, this is the kind of show it's going to be. I told him this off the air. I'm going to say it on the air. If I say something that he disagrees with, come at me. Like there's no, hey, no, you don't speak. I mean, obviously, if I'm in the middle of something, then let me finish my thought. But when Jared wants to jump in, push back, or even join in with what I'm saying, he's got the free reign and the juice to do it. So everybody, world, meet Jared. What's happening, brother?
Hello. Doing good today. I mean, crazy games last night. I was honestly mainly watching like that Knicks game last night. And then as soon as I saw like I don't know, what was it? Was it like 100-70 at some point?
They were down by 30 points.
I was just like,
30.
all right, time to turn it off. My roommate, him and his girlfriend, they were like, oh, it's the MLK game. Let's just go. It's going to be a great game. And then he sent me pictures. He's just like, this is the worst time of my life.
It's horrible. And listen, I wouldn't go nuts if it was a one-off here. Like if the Knicks were playing good ball and you got your face kicked in by a team that you're supposed to be. I don't even know what the spread was if I had to guess. I mean, I've been so much more into the NFL and the college spreads, wow, Indiana did not cover. But I would have to say Knicks were favored by, I don't know, 7.5, 8 points, something like that. Something like that. Dallas is not good. And now the Knicks are not playing well, so that number may be a little bit lower than it would have been a month or so ago. But they are an absolute mess. They really are, and it bothers me, and I don't know how it's going to change unless you get rid of the coach, which I don't think at this point is very plausible. Like mid-season, not that it's the easiest thing to change a player or two that's really a focal point of the rotation, but what are you going to bring back Tom Thibodeau? I mean, if I'm Thibodeau, I'm saying, what the hell? Hey, you made your bed. I did what I did. And now you finish off the job. I'm not, even if they offer me the job, I'm not coming back. So there's no coach out there that's going to come and save the Knicks. It's going to have to be a trade. What is this? At CLR 8810. What's up there? If anything, you haven't cursed enough when it comes to the Knicks. I love the show, BT. Cape May, New Jersey in the house. I love Cape May. That was one of the first weekend getaways that I had with my, at that point, we were just dating and then eventually engaged. Cape May is great. Haven't been there in a while. But Cape May is awesome. Shout out down there. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I could rifle off a 30-second tirade with not a single non-curse in it, and it will be entertaining, and it will probably go viral. Like, I'm not here, just to follow up that other gentleman, Robert's text about the cursing. I'm not here just to turn this into like an expletive-filled, low-intelligent show. Like, I take pride in obviously presenting things in a compelling way, in a thought-provoking way. And, that's one of the things that I think I do best and like to elicit a reaction.
Yeah.
And, but also you got to keep it real as the kid. You got to keep
cursing is honesty. That's something I
Jared.
saw, I think I saw that the other day. Cursing, it's a bad thing, but you start doing it when you're 6 and it's an honest showing of yourself, an honest revealing of your 6 or 7, I'd say. I don't know. I feel like
you were cursing that young.
Like, I don't know if I was cursing out of like actual anger. I think someone would just say something on like the playground and then you kind of repeat it. Your parents freak out at you. And no, that's true. That's for sure. No, my dad dropped a bunch when he would get angry or whatever. And even like jovial, like just kind of sitting around telling a joke. Like, it's just part of the vernacular. Like, you get used to it. So, I mean, really, and think about it. Like, what? Oh, and I don't mean a word that's like incredibly demeaning and derisive to like a segment of population or religion, an ethnicity, a proclivity for sexuality. I don't mean that stuff. That's off base. And you're never going to hear me say that ever. But like, to me, what is it? It's just a word. And most of them are one syllables. Yep.
Who we hurting here? Funny. Come on. We're not hurting anybody. We're letting it rip. As I said, we got to keep it a buck. Let's see here. Yeah, no, that's true. They did cash there. They cashed smooth BU. They cashed out there. I did not think they were going to. That game was awful the first half. That game was tremendous in the second half, and it was really, really good. The finish was phenomenal. I'll get more into some of the details, how it impacts the Jets there. My man Robert Huertas checking it up in the Bronx with the people, the fresh. The South Side Bronx, the South Bronx, the South Side Bronx. All right. Robert likes to get it going. There was a song. Maybe you could look this up. See if you can find this, Jared. Not to play the song, but the lyrics, right?
Sure.
I believe, oh God, who the hell was the artist? I just remember like in the 4th grade, me and my buddy Chad, we played on the boombox. We'd listen to it. And it was like something up in the Bronx with the people, the fresh day. It was one DJ who could pass the test. I'm down below when I'm ready to play. That's right, Joe. My name
Curtis Blow. AJ Scratch.
It was Curtis Blow. That's right, Joe. My name was AJ. Oh man,
I'm checking that out because all I know is like his like song Basketball.
Oh well, not everybody.
That's a classic.
That's money stuff. All right, let me get back to a couple of these here. What do we got? How about John Pistano 22? What up, John? People actually thought this Knicks team could get to the finals this year. We even thought, and we are even sure they may, or are we even sure they make the playoffs if this continues?
I mean, if the Knicks don't make the playoffs, it's the most colossal implosion of the history of New York sports, period. I mean, of course the Knicks are going to make the playoffs. I'm not even worried about that. I mean, there was a point where I thought, all right, they'll get their act together, get their asses in gear, and catch the Pistons. That ain't going to happen. So they're not going to be the 1 seed at this point. 2 seed. I mean, listen, again, as much as we are emotional and sometimes reactive to certain things, although I don't think that I'm unfairly reactive to this, because if you follow me, and you do, obviously, because you're a fan of the show, which means you probably follow me on social media, this has been consistent. I didn't like Karl Anthony Towns' move right away. Now, I was open to it once they did it because he could shoot, and he was different than Randall or whatever, willing to give it a shot. Good free throw shooter, great 3-point shooter, size, all right, could rebound a little bit. But then you see him play every night, and the complaints of what they were levying out in Minnesota, now you're like, oh yeah, I see what they mean. Because when you're watching Karl Anthony Towns maybe once on a TNT back in the day with Barkley and the crew, playing the Warriors or playing the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, you might see that one game, right? Or a playoff game. But when you watch him every single night, the deficiencies are illuminated. And, I'm not even saying that this part is right, is fair, but the assets are largely marginalized, right? Like what you do incredibly well, when things go awry, we kind of tend to brush that off to the side and now focus on the stuff that drives us nuts. And those arms like a baby giraffe. Who kicked somebody in the nuts last night? God, his knees going in every door, his arms flailing. I can't watch him much anymore, but I really can't. I've said that for a while. However, if you're just tuning in, again, it's an oversimplification to say that it's all Cat. It's not. It is not all Karl Anthony Towns, because I think that there are certain people who are divisive and certain people who are just not good team players. I don't think that that's the case. I just don't think that they're connecting the way maybe they were a year ago, or maybe even earlier in the year, or maybe we hope that they would, maybe more importantly, because think about this. Karl Anthony Towns projected confusion during training camp about what his role was. And you could just tell by his body language, he's not happy. I mean, that's a given. Like if Karl Anthony Towns gets traded to the Grizzlies or Orlando, do I think he's going to put up 23, 24, and 11 or 12 a night? Sure, of course I do. His usage rate will be different. The way he's used will be different. And he'll put up the same numbers that he had a year ago. By the way, his numbers this year, everything's down across the board. All right, so you're talking about, whether it's minutes, whether it's points, whether it's plus minus, whether it's other elements of efficiency, down, 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 down. And that's really a problem there. And I'm not saying that he can't salvage something like that somewhere else, but I don't want to be experimented with on our watch. Like, this is not a long runway where the Knicks just drafted Jalen. They didn't even ever draft him, but like say they just drafted him 2 years ago, and right away he's blossomed into this killer and this closer, and you can at least rationally compartmentalize in your mind, all right, it's not perfect, but this kid's 23, 24 years old, and he's going to be an absolute superstar for the next 8, 9, 10 years. It's not the case with Jalen Brunson. So there's got to be an urgency here, much like there should be an urgency with the Yankees for Aaron Judge. There's got to be more of an urgency for Jalen Brunson and what remains of his favorable contract and his prime. And he's a great player, but he's flawed. Karl Anthony Towns, very good player, flawed. I mean, Mitchell Robinson, very good player, very effective player in spots, very flawed in certain areas, whether it's spacing, whether it's free throws, whether it's being able to play every night, back-to-backs, or play big minutes, or play on the floor with Cat, and coexist perfectly. It's just problems. I mean, that's all there is to it. Problems, more money, more problems. Yep. Knicks have the second highest salary cap, second highest cap number right now. And I think they're 2 or 3 next year. So the finances are what they are. They're locked into who they are unless they make a trade. They've given up almost all of their top desirable draft capital. Where are we going? Where are we going from here? Like, the only other option, I gave you 2. Well, I guess the third is to roll and just do nothing. Who wants that? Fire the coach, get rid of the star player, or do nothing. And I would be a little bit more willing to do nothing if the signs weren't so ominous. And that's the problem. Like, it's one thing to be in a rut and play bad basketball. All right, now this is a lengthy run of sloppy, disconnected play, and I believe it's more who they are than who they're not. Like, I don't think it's a little lapse. Well, the Knicks are going to wake up in a week and win 6 straight, and suddenly the defense is acceptable and the offense is, again, the best in the NBA. I don't see that happening. I just don't. And even if it does, I still don't trust it enough to last for the duration of the season. And then more importantly, for 2 months of playoff basketball to be front and center. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to win anything with this group. So you could get rid of the coach, get rid of the player, or do nothing. And I just think that of the 3 options, you're not going to fire Mike Brown 40 games in. You're not. You're not going to do nothing. You're not going to not do anything. Do nothing, not do it. Yeah. And the only real thing you can do is because he's got some value and his contract's up, not next year, but the year after that. It's a player option, which will probably might even decline because he's going to get big money in this crazy world of the NBA. So you might not even be on the hook for it. You let him walk. So you got him the rest of this year. You got him next year. So it's going to be more financially palatable for a team like Orlando or maybe even the Grizz, teams with, finances that aren't quite like the Knicks or some of the big spenders in the NBA. So there's always a move to make, but it's got to be the right move. It's one thing to get rid of somebody once that happens. And I do believe something's going to happen. There is no way that we wake up and it's February 5, and I think the deadline's 4 Eastern, I think. And it's 4:02. No, Knicks stand pat. No changes, coaching staff. Nobody fired. Nobody let go. Nobody dealt. Nothing happened. No way. And if that's the case, then James Dolan's a fraud, because James Dolan last week got on WFAN with Craig and CMAC and said, yeah, I view this team as a team that's going to get to the finals, and I expect to win the championship. This team's winning nothing. And, you might not love Dolan. You might not, understand Dolan or whatever, but man's not an idiot. Like and I do believe that he has a threshold for what he's willing to tolerate. And see, Dolan's gotten himself in trouble when he's kind of jumped in and exercised, power when something good was happening, like with Donnie Walsh, when the Knicks were being built the right way and the cap was in order and they had young, purposeful, explosive players. And, they had some wood for Carmelo and they went out and they gave up everything. And that was Dolan intervening. And take Wilson, take Mozgov, take Pigs, take this, take that, take this, take that. And what did the Knicks win with Carmelo? Nothing. And by the way, now I know that when I talk about Carmelo Anthony, it comes across as personal. So this is really the first time on this platform I'm talking about Carmelo. And I know how these things make the rounds, and it's not disrespect, it's not shade, it's just being real, okay? And not misremembering what happened. I think Carmelo's pretty good on TV. I think he looks good. I think he's got good thoughts, right? I think he's got a cool vibe to him. And I think in terms of like the NBA pantheon of all-time scorers, just pure scorers, he's up there. Now, he's not KD, but he's one of the best pure scorers I've ever seen. But hearing Carmelo Anthony last night with Tracy McGrady was good, but hearing Carmelo talk about like internal tension and, you got to fix a lot. I don't really care what he has to say about that, because that's the same guy who completely took the oxygen out of the Jeremy Lin run because he was selfish, because somebody else was getting some shine. Carmelo didn't like it. And Carmelo, who was always, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many, was always more about the team. Was always more about himself than the team. And that manifested itself many different ways. Now, this was a lost season, so this might not bother you, but it bothered me as a dyed-in-the-wool, all-in Knicks fan. So years ago, the All-Star games at the Garden, Carmelo's, I think it was a 20-something win. They may have won 23 games that year, whatever it was, right? And Carmelo's knee was jacked up. I get it. He's a human. The body, a lot of miles, a lot of minutes, understood. Our focal point of the offense, heavy burden. His body was breaking down. But instead of maybe addressing it differently, he chose to play in the All-Star game and then shut it down. And to me, that was such a me move. And I never forgot that. Like that was counter to what you should do if you're a team leader. You don't go out there, and I know why he did it, to feel the adulation we all love to feel that on some level. I think we all need that. It's the human condition, but it can't supersede the team. And I thought too many times during Carmelo Anthony's run as the Knicks' best player, he was either too selfish, not in great shape, averse to defense, or resistant to a new forming direction or philosophy within the team that was not best for Carmelo Anthony in terms of stats and shots, but may have been best for the Knicks overall. Again, I want to be fair. I don't want you to start saying things irresponsibly. Carmelo just didn't have enough around him most years, and that was a broken, disgusting eyesore of an era in Knicks basketball. But I think some of the things he did made it worse. So I'm sitting there and I'm hearing Carmelo last night, and by the way, it's not the first time he's done it, talking about like, oh, the chemistry and the locker room. Like, I can't, it's not, I don't know. It just doesn't hit me the same way. It's like if Stephon Marbury, and again, they're entitled to say what they want. I don't mean it that way, obviously. But if Stephon Marbury is talking about chemistry and either dysfunction or, you know, a lack of connectivity. I mean, I was around those Knicks teams every night because I was doing the pre, the post, and the half for MSG on TV, and I was doing the radio for 1050, and I actually got a chance to call some games play-by-play, so I traveled with the Knicks. I was around the Knicks every night, all right, and I saw what it was. I was in that locker room. You know, I'm talking about David Lee and Malik Rose and Jamal Crawford. Love Jamal. Love Lee, too. And love Malik Rose. Had a lot of good guys. They just didn't have a lot of talent. And they had somebody in Stephon Marbury who just kind of took the air out of the room. And I don't know if Carmelo was quite like that. I think the guys liked Carmelo more than they liked Stephon Marbury, but it's not that dissimilar. Like there's certain guys, like if Derek Jeter wants to talk about chemistry, hey, when we were winning in 96 and 98 and 99 and 2000, it was kind of like this. And now we're morphing into this. Oh, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to listen to every word that you say. You know, Aaron Judge, I think the way he comports himself, the way he produces, the way he minimizes distractions and just plows through with class and diligence and massive production. He says something like that, I'm all ears. Carmelo, Stephon, I'm not interested. I'm just not. If Jalen Brunson says something like that, yeah, I'm listening. Josh Hart, yep, I'm all ears. So we have a complete shit show with the New York Knicks. Ugh. Let's see here. How about Allen, 1953? This goes back to the other night. What's up, Al? Allen Z, to be more specific. Facts, man. Lost a lot of respect for the Knicks when Draymond did that to Cat and nothing was done. I mean, what the hell else do you need to see? What else do you need to see? There is nothing else to unpack there. That was a moment where the Knicks could have been really galvanized as a group. And it's either naturally in there as a disposition as an individual, like the whole fight. And I'm not talking about some massive brawl. I'm not even saying that, although you wouldn't mind it and wake them up. But those days are over in the NBA. I get that. You're not going to have, you know, Greg Anthony coming off the bench like he did in Phoenix in a suit or some crazy paisley shirt, you know, throwing hammers when Kevin Johnson and Doc Rivers started throwing down all those years ago. Like, you know, come on, those days are over. All right. But there could be a certain tenacity and there needs to be a certain resistance to when somebody's punking you. Like, I know that the physicality and like the hard screens and protecting the paint, like that's all changed. And that's okay. I don't love it. I say it's okay because there's really nothing I could do to change it. So I've got to accept it. I could do a whole podcast on why the 80s and the 90s were better than this nonsense that we watch every night when everybody's scoring 120 points and firing up 45 to 53s and nobody's near the rim. And there's not even really a center or two that could block a shot conventionally unless he's coming for the weak side. Trust me, I could go days for that, right? But I don't, because it sounds like the guy on the lawn, get off my lawn, the guy who, oh, back in the day it was better. Well, yeah, it was better. I just don't shove it down your throat because I know the younger generation doesn't care. But when it comes up, I'm going to tell you what I think. And I think it was a lot better back then than I do now. So I understand that there's not going to be some wild foul like where you come in like Kurt Rambis getting clotheslined, you know, in the Celtics-Lakers rivalry of the mid-'80s, going to the rim and just literally getting clotheslined and dropped on his back, right? Yeah, that's not going to happen. And I don't want that to happen because I don't want somebody to get hurt. But there is a fine line between playing dirty and having enforcers, which is pretty much gone in the NBA, and standing up for your team and protecting your image and being there for the guy next to you. And when nobody stood up for Cat and Cat didn't really stand up for himself, that's the next day I said it's over. And I was already kind of thinking that they weren't really good enough as the season went on and the losing streak stretched out and became more and more worrisome and more alarming and lengthier and deeper and more problematic. But that's all I need to see. Like, there was a time, like, okay, Mike, I'll give you an example. Mike Mussina, great pitcher. Should he be in the Hall of Fame and Andy Pettitte? No. I mean, that's another podcast at some point. My first instinct is no. I'll never forget the day, and I was on 1050 at this point, and I absolutely crushed Mike Mussina, and rightfully so. So, game starts, right? Soriano, banged on the hand, taken out of the game, goes to the hospital, gets x-rays. Next batter, it was a day game in the Bronx Yankee Stadium, right? Next batter, number 2 hole, Derek Jeter. Boom, up and in. I believe the count was 1-2, right on the wrist, purpose pitch. And Pedro even said, Soriano wasn't my target, it was Jeter. So he did that on purpose, right? And maybe Soriano was just residual damage, but that shouldn't really matter. When I don't care if it's your 9-hitter who's hitting 194 with an OPS of 612, who plays twice a week. If people are taking liberties with your teammates and you don't do anything about it, there's a problem there. And that Yankee team did not win. They did not win that year. They didn't win for a couple of years. And I'm not saying that they didn't win the World Series because Mike Mussina didn't retaliate, but that was kind of emblematic of what was fading from those Yankee teams. Those Yankee teams always stood up for each other. Tino and Benitez, obviously, everybody coming out of the bullpen, Darryl throwing wild haymakers in the dugout, Paul O'Neill getting into fights, his pitchers having his back, you name it. David Wells throwing at people, Coney throwing at people. Mike Mussina, not really wired that way. And even if you're not wired that way, and I know everybody's not, and that's fine, you've got to find a way to be wired that way for that moment, for that day, for your guy. And even if these Knicks collectively are not wired that way, then they had to flip a switch and do something about it against Golden State. And they didn't. And what's happened since? They lost to the Suns twice in 5 days. And then they got their teeth shoved down their throats, losing by 30 to the Mavericks, which tells me you no longer care. You don't care. Your pride is down the tubes. Your willingness to fight for your teammates, I'm not even saying literally, just grind through and get through, it's dissipated. It's over. Messaging not being received. The one or two from the coaches, the one or two guys on the team that do try to project that, like Hart, lesser extent Deuce, it's not working. And when you have all this evidence, you got two choices. You can ignore it or you can change it. And you bet your ass that they have to change it. And I would bet that they will. They know this. There's changes coming. I mean, think about this. Your kid comes home with a 67, all right? What are the options? Do you let them continue to fiddle on the iPad or even sports, which is better than the iPad, but still, school's got to be first most of the time, unless it's a big game. Unless it's a big game the night before. I've said this a lot. I don't care what anybody thinks. Hey, we got a big game the night before. Not that the Jets play big games, but they've had late games like the Rodgers game against the Bills, right? Monday night. Or obviously Yankee playoff games or big Knick games. It's all right. My son or my daughter. My daughter usually falls asleep on the couch, but he's going to be a little tired in school tomorrow. Deal with the teachers. I'm sorry. Because whatever he's going to learn in school, and he goes to a great school, and he's a really good student, but whatever he's going to learn in school that day, I'm going to guess he's going to remember sitting up with daddy watching that game like I do with mine, just a little more than whatever lesson was presented to him that day in school, right? So that's just a little side turn, but I always believe that, and my wife knows, big game, kids are staying up, whatever. But like if the kid routinely comes home, your child with a less than whatever their relative window is, if you're an A student, you get a B minus, what happened, Joe? What happened, Susie? Like that's out of character. Did you not prepare? Did you not read the directions? Like, well, what happened? Did you run out of time? Did you not feel well? If they're a B student and now they come home with an F or a D, like, all right, that's just that's unacceptable. And if they continuously come home with 67s or 72s or 73s, then now you've got to dig a little bit deeper as a parent and determine, all right, I'm not trying to get too deep here, but it's true. Is there a learning disorder? Is there an inability to focus? Is there just a lack of putting the time in with school? Do we need to get a tutor? Whatever it might be. And those are your choices. Like once you see enough evidence, you've got to deduce what the problem is. And sometimes you need professional help to help get to that deduction. And if it's a tutor, great. You know, if it's putting in more time, good. Let's get in the trenches. No, you know what? You're not watching this movie tonight. You're not playing Fortnite. You're not playing NBA 2K or Madden. You're not calling your buddy on the phone or doing whatever you're doing. You're studying. And if you don't like it, you're not playing your game tomorrow night. So there's got to be repercussions. And there's got to be a point where the results are so identifiable that if you don't do anything about it, that is on you. Like there's nothing else to interpret here with these Knicks. It's over. It's a wrap. Done. All right. Let's see here. What's this? At TJF Russo. What up, TJ Russo? I was hoping the Knicks would get us into and through a miserable New York sports year, but not so fast, I guess. Yeah. I mean, that was the hope too, right? You think about this because when the Giants season started, the Jets season started, all right, you know, Aaron Glenn year one, all right, when's Jackson Dart going to play? All right, well, then Dart obviously played well, but in terms of the wins and that overall week-to-week legitimate emotional investment of like hope for something good that season, it was gone. I mean, it was over for the Jets immediately. Giants fooled you a little bit by beating a couple of teams, Chargers, whatever. They went on a little bit of run, on a little bit of a run where you're like, okay, all right, scoring some points here. Maybe this is the new Giants here. But that was over immediately. Yankees got bounced. Toronto smacked them. Mets didn't make it. So we all thought that the New York Knicks would be the bastion and, you know, the leading force, the light in the darkness of the New York sports scene. They're just adding to it. They're making it worse. They're making it worse because when you have expectations for something, now you're going to get much more of a visceral reaction. You wouldn't hear me. I know I had days where I bashed Isaiah and I bashed, you know, Fizdale or Hornacek or Carmelo, whatever. But when your team is a non-entity in terms of being relevant in the NBA, it's really hard to conjure up legitimate, consistent emotion when you just don't have the horses to win. The energy comes like when we think you're going to be really good, and now it looks like you don't give a shit about the results. It's the way it looks. And that's most disconcerting. Unacceptable. All right, national championship game last night. Interesting night. First half was awful. Second half was great. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because I know it's not going to happen. I mean, Mendoza had a rough night. Now, he made great plays. When he launched himself into the end zone, first of all, the cut left to right was, you saw the athleticism. And I'm not saying he's going to be like Josh Allen quite, but you get him 7, 8, 9 more pounds, which he will have a functional weight at the next level now that it's his job. I mean, he's going to be a load, man. I thought they dropped a few passes. He threw a couple that were a little bit behind, whatever. Not his greatest game for sure. The numbers, no touchdowns, no picks, 14 for 25, you know, fairly nominal, menial stats. I got it. But when it was winning time, didn't you think he was going to win? I knew he was going to win. I don't know if he was going to run one in, throw a touchdown, but I knew he was going to win. And that Miami defense was phenomenal. Give them a ton of credit, boy. I mean, that was a big spread, 8.5 points. When it was 10-zip at the half, I'm like, all right, they're going to run away with this thing. But what Miami did, and it worked, and Herb Street pointed this out on the broadcast, where to start the game, there was a lot of soft coverage, right? So the corners were 5-6 yards off Indiana's receivers, giving them space. So all Mendoza had to do was, you know, boom, 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 out of shotgun, quick 2-3 step drop, back foot, let it go, wide open, 7-8 yards, move the sticks, you know, and obviously Indiana's run game, which has been phenomenal all year. It was good in spurts, but it wasn't quite what it's been all year. And I think when Miami came up and did a little more press coverage, now you started to see Mendoza getting, I mean, he was popped. He was even hitting the first half, but he got knocked around. And that guy is just such a gamer, such a winner, such a leader. I absolutely love him. Now, this is what I won't spend a lot of time on because it's not going to happen, but I'll just throw it out there. You never know. If he would have gone for 309, and coming into the game in the playoffs, he had more touchdowns than incompletions. Think about that. They had the stat on. I think it was 8 touchdowns at one point and 5 incompletions during the playoffs. What? And you remember all the clutch throws, Ohio State, Oregon earlier in the year, right? So if it would have come out and continued this ungodly assault on the record books and flawless play, Raiders would have had nothing to think about. Now, there's still really nothing to think about. They're going to take him first overall. But, I don't even know if this is a rumor. If it's not a report, that's for sure. I would say, see, to me, there's nonsense, there's a rumor, there's informed industry speculation, and then there's a report. This is way short of a report. I think it's past, a couple of you on your WhatsApp chain throwing this out there and then somebody tweeting something with 9 followers. And no disrespect on toward people with 9 followers, but it's not coming from a viable source. But I think it's slightly past that stage and way short of being in the reporting stage. Maybe Tom Brady makes a push for Lamar Jackson. Now, I wouldn't do that if I'm him. I would start fresh and I would go with Mendoza. And I believe he's going to. But because he didn't play great, even though he was there at winning time, you never know. Door, like a tick ajar. 3%, 8%, single-digit percent. But if he would have balled out last night with 3 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground, 312 yards, 25 or 29, I don't care who, Burrow, Lamar, that's it. Nope, we got Mendoza. Thank you. No matter what they offer, we're taking Mendoza. You never know. You get one team that just gets reckless, and you've got to have the capital, Jets, to do it. Well, maybe there's a potential deal to be struck. I'm not going to exhaust this because I don't think it's going to happen. But last night was still a good night for the Jets. Now, right now, going into the game, Ruben Bain was mocked pretty much top 10 everywhere, top 5, top 6, most mocked, right? At least the reputable ones that I lean on. He only reinforced how amazing he is. To me, it looks like Dwight Freeney. That's what I see. 275, coming off the edge, low leverage. I'm not going to throw all the scouting terms at, he's got swivel hips. Oh, his hands are connected to his eyes. That's the thing that drives me crazy about this draft process. Some of the dumb, regurgitated verbiage. Come on, man. Speak like a human. Don't come across as R2-D2 or C3PO. Just speak like a human being, Oh, my God. It really, and you know what I'm talking about. It really is. It's the constant regurgitation of the scouting phrases. And so I don't want to be beholden to that. So I'm going to move on. But I do see a little Freeney, right? So the Jets could take him at 2, which right now, I know you got to go through the process here. I'm all for. The only thing is some people do say based on his height and his weight, and, I'll let those who really do this for a living in terms of the ratio, height, weight, speed. I know what I'm looking at, but I'm not a scout. Some people think his arms might be a little bit short. Well, come on. The quarterback's got small hands. Can you play, dude? So I'm going to let that process at least, play itself out. But there's a chance he doesn't grade out as favorably. I don't know what Muji's personal preference is. And I don't know. But if right now, if the Jets take Ruben Baines at 2, I'm pumped. Now, here's what else could happen. This is why it was a good night for the Jets. As good as he was, right? Well, now that might incentivize somebody who's got and the Jets have a pressing need everywhere. They need a linebacker. They need a defensive edge. And like him, they need a corner. They need a safety. They need the wide receiver. The Jets need everything. Absolutely everything, right? So they've got an abundance of options and an abundance of picks, and they've got a chance to add to that. If the Jets say if they really like Ruben Bain, almost love him, right? But somebody loves him just a little bit more and is willing to, say, trade from 2 to 6 and give you a second or third round pick, whatever. I don't know, whatever the draft board equates to, what you got to give up to get what you got to get to move up to 2, whatever it is, right? I know the points. They'll figure that out. And you love Caleb Downs from Ohio State, who's a safety, and you need one. And that's a little more justifiable taking him in that 6, 7 spot or even 4, whatever it might be, rather than maybe 2 as a safety, all right? Or you want to take Reese, the linebacker from Ohio State. I think you could take him at 2, or you could trade down, you could take him. Or you got 2 receivers. You got Tyson, you got Tate. You get the kid from Arizona State, and you got the kid from Ohio State. Ohio State's absolutely loaded. How is Ohio State still not playing? Wow. But last night was really good because it's going to present the Jets with, I think, either a great player at number 2 that just can really, boom, accelerate their development, right? Or it's going to open up some real dialogue and some real tantalizing possibilities for them to make trades with other teams. And we already know Muji's aggressive. You traded Sauce, you traded Q, you were active on the waiver wire early in the year. You made some lower level moves. You made some big moves here. So, I mean, this man is a modern general manager. He comes from the Peyton camp. Sean Payton was in the building with Denver. They think that way. He thinks that way. He's already shown us he thinks that way. He's already shown us that he thinks that way and is not afraid to act on that thought process. So, as much as the Jets season was just pure torment, what else is new? This offseason, I am absolutely, Salo will always get around. All right, BT, you going to regenerate? I've already regenerated. I can't wait for the draft. I cannot wait to see what the New York Jets do. I love the draft in general, but when you've got the second pick and you've got another pick in the teens, I mean, there's just, and then 3 next year, there are a boatload of possibilities for a general manager who is at least early on shown a propensity to take a big swing, which is good, but more importantly, have the acumen and the instincts to execute what I perceive to be the right big swing. So, again, they're going to have a lot of players here that are going to look really, really tantalizing. I mean, if you put me down for it right now, it's going to either be a Bain, a Downs, a Reese. I'm not taking a wide receiver at number 2. There's just too many other needs. But, I mean, listen, if one of these kids grades out like Megatron, all right, I guess I'll leave the door a little bit ajar here. But, yeah, last night was a good night. And last night, it is amazing that Indiana won the national championship. I went to one Ohio State game. My ex-girlfriend went to Ohio State years ago. And I went to Columbus, and I went to the Horseshoe. So I speak on experience with some of these stadiums. Like, I've had a chance to, even though growing up in the Northeast, I've had a chance to go to some pretty cool college football venues. I've been to the Big House when I worked in Detroit a bunch of times. Went to the Horseshoe. Went to Michigan State. Went to Cal and Stanford when I lived out west. Went to Boston College when my sister was a student there. That's a funny story. I was a friend. Here's the short version. I was a freshman in high school, and she was a sophomore or maybe a freshman at BC. And I went up for the weekend. She told my parents he's never coming back. And I didn't. I can't really tell you what happened, but it was a fun weekend, except for her. Anyway, going to the Horseshoe, that's why I always say, Penn State, been to Penn State, has been a Happy Valley. They're in a whiteout as well, 105, 108,000, whatever it is. College football venues, if you go to the right one, my God, and many of you know this, magical. But many of you that grew up in the Northeast, you got Fordham, you got Stony Brook, further south in Jersey, you got Princeton. Like, you got a couple of games. Army is beautiful. I love the Hudson Valley, West Point, Mikey Stadium's beautiful. I've been there as well. But it's not a college football town. But I've had a chance to go to some of these. And when I went to the Horseshoe, they were playing Indiana, ironically, right? And I think that they won 56-3, 60-3. I mean, it was outside of Antoine Randall L back in the day, and he was not on this team. A few other players here and there. I mean, Indiana, let me put it in these terms, all right? Indiana was basically to the Big Ten football scene what DePaul is to the Big East basketball scene. Like, they're a doormat. They've been unwatchably horrid with, a fairly, I know they pumped some money into it last couple of years, but a fairly before that dilapidated stadium. It was awful. No game day juice, no quarterback prospects. Nobody you look at and say, wow, all right, this team isn't good, but man, look at this 6'4", 210-pound horse who's going to go top 3 in the draft. Like, they had nothing. And NIL money changed that, but so did a great coach. God, he is great. But if you've been around and you follow college football, like last night, the coronation of the Hoosiers was nothing short of spectacular. I watched the entire postgame show. I watched Mendoza. I watched the coach. Boy, he is one intense dude. My son says, man, Dad, does he ever smile? And he smiled last night with Holly Rowe when he said, I'm going to go. No, Holly was with Mendoza, I think. And he was asked, was it Molly? I think it was Molly. He said, or he was asked, what are you going to do to celebrate? I'm going to have a beer. Yeah, you damn right you're going to have a beer. Have 9 of them. Knock yourself out, brother. What a job. And, I don't know what makes him better than others, but I mean, it's partly concepts. I'm sure it's attention to detail, NIL, you name it, anticipation, gut instinct, everything, right? But his press conference, and he was thought to be kind of a pompous ass coming from James Madison, shows up at this press conference, and they're like, what makes you? Because he was, espousing some positivity, like, no, we're gonna be all right here. And somebody, I think, straight up asked him, like, why are you so confident you're gonna win in Indiana? He's like, because I'm here. That's why I win. I mean, what? And here he won the championship. It's not like they're ranked. Like you get some of these cute stories, right? Like a couple of years ago, Coastal Carolina had a really good year. Zach Wilson played there. I think they scheduled, that was during COVID, and they scheduled it. I think they scheduled it just to give Zach another look for his draft prospects, right? And Zach couldn't even become the backup in Miami. Good God. And Coastal had a nice little run, but like they didn't win the championship. You know, there are good stories that develop, even pre-NIL, and that was where, you know, a little tiny engine that could kind of eventually peters out. But boy, what an amazing, uplifting story. They just do things that nobody thought that they could do. And Indiana took it all the way to the bank. They won. They won the championship. Absolutely amazing. I was rooting for them all in. All in. Well, I had something else for you I want to make sure I didn't forget about. Hey, Jared, I saw a couple of the tweets here today as Jared pops his head back into the equation. There he is. Anything on Bellinger? I know you're on the Bellinger watch here. It seems like there were a couple of tweets earlier about today or very shortly could be the day. I know it hasn't broken yet.
Yeah, I mean, what I was seeing on Bellinger, I was reading an article saying that the Yankees might lose out on him. That was like that was the latest article I was reading, but it's from some site called Yankees Go Yard. I don't know if that's a reliable source.
Okay.
But it said Yankees should be prepared to lose Cody Bellinger after latest free agency updates. So
yeah,
that's the latest thing I've got.
Gotcha. I appreciate it, Jared. I'm not really familiar with that particular website. Doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean it's not reputable. I just don't particularly know that one. There's actually a lot of smaller websites out there that really pump out really good content that kind of get glossed over. I'm not here to diss them for sure. But I've seen that other places too, and I've talked about that because it's very apparent that the Yankees are not going to budge here. They're not, and they shouldn't. There's 5 years. The money's good. It's a pretty hefty signing bonus. They made the concessions with the opt-outs just because the Mets lost out on Tucker and made a really good pivot to Bo Bichette. And just because you lost Juan Soto to the Mets a year ago doesn't mean that you go from what you perceive to be a fair, good deal and a bottom line deal to a reckless, stupid deal. Just because whether it's the Mets or Toronto's willing to do it. I'm not giving them 70. I'm not giving them 6. Yo, Cody, you want to stay here or not? Here's the 5 years. Here's the total terms in terms of the AAV. You want to play with Aaron Judge or not? And if you don't want to be here, go somewhere else. See ya. Goodbye.
That's it. That's that.
Hey, one thing I'm learning, Jared, as I get older, I got no tolerance. Like, I'm done begging. Like, there was a point, like, given the complexion of this Yankee offseason where I would have been like, oh, but you need him. Oh, he could play left field and center. And who gives a shit? You don't want to be
at a certain point, you're done. Well,
yes.
You know, there's no convincing.
What I'm saying.
The mind's made up.
Yeah, man. I mean, how many times? Now, you're single, right, Jared?
Yeah.
All right. By the way, a good single scene or
I mean, I'm fresh in New York, so figuring it out.
No,
figuring out while I'm here.
All right, figuring it out. So when I hear you say figuring it out, it seems like you're still in the stage of trying to get it going. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I'd say I've had a break from my time in college to now my time in New York, and now here, trying to get it back going again.
Okay, understood. I could not imagine dating now. You couldn't pay me to be on the dating scene. My God almighty. I just couldn't do it with the expectations, not all of them, of some of these young women, the nonsensical, the texts and the ghost and the games and get the hell. How about you go up to somebody, you introduce yourself, hey, can I buy you a drink? And you start a conversation.
What's crazy is that's kind of how it's turning again. Like with people my age, is like it seems like a lot of people are kind of moving away from the apps, and now you're just kind of going up to someone in the bar. Hey, can I get you a drink? You look good.
There you
that's
go.
it. That's that.
And it goes really well. You get her a second drink.
Exactly.
And then you're on your way.
Like I feel like there's been kind of this pivot almost, where it's just like people are kind of like, I'm done. Like this is just too uncomfortable. Like doing the phone thing. Cause you say something like skeevy, just like you meet someone on the phone. Hey, let me come over. Like you seem like a freak. So it's like, I feel like in person, you kind of, now you're getting, I mean, and especially in New York too, you kind of get in that interaction and you're actually able to kind of feel it out. So I feel like people are kind of pivoting a little.
That makes me feel happy for the next generation. That's good. See, one of the things that your generation, certainly those even older, but younger than me, what they've gotten away from and what they've been able to operate. And actually, this bothers me because I had game. They were able to operate with no game. No game.
Yeah.
Like swipe, match, let's meet. We either hook up, we don't. We have dinner, we don't. We have drinks, we don't. You come back, you don't. I swipe on to the next, right? There's no game required there. The game is having the confidence as a man to walk up to somebody and really be vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
And now, hopefully, maybe you see her looking at you from across the bar, so the ice is a little broken. Maybe somebody knows her, and now I'm not saying there aren't easier ways to get involved. There's a little shortcut here and there, but well, you don't need any game now. You need none. But if it's going back to the way it used to be, that's good. That makes me happy.
Gotta practice some game now.
Yeah, nice.
Because that's the thing, I guess. It's like maybe people my age, we're like out of practice for so long, but now that it's kind of coming back, reverting the other way.
Yeah.
Gotta get those reps in.
Dude, I hear you. I appreciate it. Thanks for chiming in there, dude.
Yeah,
and good luck with the scene. We're going to have daily
Jared
Jared dating updates, by the way. We're going to get a little something going on here. And we got to get a name. You know what? We got to get a nickname for Jared. We got, my son said J-Rod. J-Rod.
That's literally been my nickname my entire life.
Oh, that is J-Rod. So,
yeah. My dad's been calling me that probably since birth.
J-Rod.
Yeah.
That's a good nickname.
And it's funny because he's a Boston guy too, so it wasn't even like an A-Rod kind of thing. It was just like,
all right, well, there it is. That's settled. J-Rod. Yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know, man. I'm not going to belabor this, but I feel sorry for those who just don't have the ability to have a conversation. I understand that it's really you putting yourself out there. That's why I used the word vulnerable before. But I mean, if you like somebody, just be nice. Just be normal. Don't be a freak. Don't be a weirdo. Don't be over the top. Don't be desperate, which I think many people come across as. Don't keep firing the text. If she doesn't respond, let her breathe. Or if he doesn't respond, let him, whatever it is, let him breathe. Don't be up their ass. But like this, some of the stuff that I've heard from, some of my friends who are still single now, like, and there are actually a few of them, like it's kind of, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's actually really easy in certain regard, which, has its appeal, I guess. But at this age, man, oh God, you couldn't pay me to walk into a bar being single. No thanks. I'm not saying I wouldn't do okay, but I just have no interest. Oh man. What do you do? Who do you learn? And then the other problem is this too. Right? This is a big problem. So I didn't date a ton. Like I had fun. Let me leave it at that. It did all right. But I had a steady girlfriend in college, and like moving around during my radio is when I was kind of bouncing around a little bit, whatever, not connected to anybody seriously. But then when I came back to work at 1050, I had a serious girlfriend for a couple of years, right? And it was pretty much on. It wasn't like on, off, on, off, on. It was pretty much on for about 2, and that's when I went to Ohio State with to watch the game, right? But when we started going on dates, like sushi, get a little sake, go to the movies, go get a glass of wine at a wine bar, all those things in Manhattan. You know how many times we talked about politics? Not once. 0. Can you imagine? All right, so look, you're swiping. Oh, wow, she's hot. Oh, wow, she looks good. Oh, wow, she's a match. And then you sit down, and it's a hit piece on whatever you fundamentally believe in. Can you imagine and then you got to get stuck with the check. Goodbye. Hey, peel off a couple of C notes, whatever it is, card. Goodbye. I'm out. Okay, what you look like. I'm not sitting here being subjected to this. Goodbye. Good riddance. Have a good life. But you just get bombarded with this stuff because it's I get it. There's a lot of emotional volatility, and there are real things, both sides that are problems. I get it. I'm not saying like, if I was single now, would it come up? Sure, to an extent. I wouldn't like, Republican or Democrat. Yeesh. It's the problem. Everybody's focused on stuff that, like, they're less concerned about the person sitting in front of them, and they're more concerned with shoving their views down your throat, which means you can't even really figure out about the person. Even if they disagree slightly with what you subscribe to, you probably won't let the good things resonate and register because you already hate them because they disagree with you a little bit. Man, oh man. And I never heard about politics growing up. Never. Ever.
It's
I remember
interesting. I mean, everything you're saying is just very interesting with like just correlating to like people my age, I'd say.
Am I right or wrong?
I mean, you're 100% right. I feel like, I don't know, because, and that's the thing is like, I'm not like an overtly political guy either, I'd say, but it has a lot of in-person interaction with people our age has kind of turned into like, I describe it as like an arm wrestling match where you like try to like jostle with the person and like who takes the moral high ground out of the two of us rather than like, oh no, what actually makes you, I don't know, who you are as a person, what kind of builds that up.
I agree. It's funny because I mentioned I had a pretty steady girlfriend in college, and her parents, she lived on Long Island, so I spent a lot of my summers out there. I was playing baseball out there, summer ball. I would just stay there a lot. It was easier. It was great. Plus, her house was bigger than mine, and my dad was always up my behind, always watching what I was doing. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. Yeah. I'll stay there for the weekend. Anyway, they were largely a Republican family, right? Mm-hmm. But they had a picture of President Kennedy in the house. Like there was a reverential disposition to the presidency. Sure. There really was, and like I know what my parents gravitate towards now, but I didn't know then. Like we didn't talk about that at the dinner table. Yeah. Like, and so for me, the first president that basically when I was born, it was the end of the Jimmy Carter term. Mm-hmm. And the beginning of the Ronald Reagan term. All right. So 1980, Reagan comes in. And it was never like, I don't remember once hearing my parents praise Carter or denigrate him now the economy eventually got going with Reagan. So I'm sure that they were happy about that. But like they weren't pumping out like pro-Reagan propaganda. Like, no, it didn't matter who the president was. You just respected the office. And that we're so far away from that is a real issue for our world. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to get too preachy. Sure. Just a little side swipe here. I definitely am not here to get preachy. I'd like to think I'm open-minded. I'd like to think I'm fairly well-rooted in sensibility. I like to think that I am fair to what I think is right for good people. It doesn't mean I don't go one way or the other with certain things. Of course I do. We all do. But the office was just it was revered. Now it's like reviled, no matter who was in it, our current president or the previous president. So that is something that I'm trying to change in my house, and that hopefully, as the dating scene changes, you tell me there's a little bit of a recalibration here, which at least gives us hope for the future. Well, maybe there's an awakening within the way we view the office. We can only be potentially so lucky. You know what I mean? All right, so what do we got? What time do we have? About to wrap it up. Hey, by the way, Johnny's Seton Hall tonight. So St. John's is on an absolute roll. Don't mess around. I think too many, to be fair, St. John's fans are saying, St. John's, we're going to wax this team. Seton Hall's very tough. Now, Seton Hall's coming off a very bad loss at home to a team that they should beat in Butler. It was ugly. And I do think Seton Hall was a little not overrated, but a little heightened. Like when they made the top 25, I was like, curious how long they're going to stay there. And then they got bounced. But this is going to be a street fight. Like if St. John's fans think they're going to roll into the Garden tonight and it's going to be 91-72 or 91-68, I don't really see that happening. I mean, they got some guards that could be a problem. They've got a defense that could be a front court, couple of guys up there that could be an issue. They've got a really good, gritty coach in Shaheen Holloway, who I've got respect for. I know Rick Pitino does as well. So no matter what's happened the last year or so, pardon me, I get the cleaning, they're banging the vacuum cleaner. I can't even hear myself think. Come on. Every other Tuesday, I got to deal with this, moving rugs, moving furniture. Zzz, try to work here. Oh God, man. The run that St. John's has been on has been really uplifting and has really solidified them as a clear NCAA team and a team with upside again. And I wasn't sure what their ceiling was, and I'm still not fully there, but there's a lot of evidence they're starting to get to that point where, all right, things are moving in the right direction, whether it's Zuby playing like Zuby again, whether it's like Sellers, up top, or Ian Jackson now figuring things out, or Dylan Mitchell being in the starting lineup and Rick going with that bigger lineup. There's a lot of reasons that St. John's has played much better, but you can't undo. I don't care if you win by 3 points. You have to smash Seton Hall, win the game. This is a big game because if you were to lose tonight, I don't think they will. I'm just trying to warn everybody. It's going to be a rock fight. It's going to be a street fight. It always is with Seton Hall. And, when you win 3 quad 1 road games in a row, which they have quad 1 road wins, and then you beat Marquette by 20-something, if you were to lose tonight, it doesn't take all the steam out of it, but all the gains you've made analytically, metrically, for, net ranking, Ken Palm, I thought they should have been ranked this week, but whatever. Maybe it's actually good that they weren't. I'm almost starting to think that this group, and every group's different, but, they came in preseason number 5, 31 wins last year, regular season champs in the conference, Big East tournament season, tournament champs, 2 seed. I know they got knocked out early, but whatever. And then you crush the transfer portal, St. John's, highest grade portal. You got Patino. Like, there was a lot of energy, and rightfully so, and optimism, and rightfully so. But a lot of the players that came in hadn't done a damn thing with this team. So I never really thought that top 5 rating was justified. It was not emblematic of who they were. It was more emblematic of maybe what they could be. And I think we're starting to get a better glimpse of what they actually could be. So I think that's interesting. I hope that they play well tonight. And if they do it, if they keep this thing rocking, St. John's, I was looking at some of these, I think it's called Bracket Matrix, where they kind of put all the numbers in there and you get a sense of where they are with all the people who grade out the field of 68. And right now, St. John's is thought to be a 6 seed and ascending. So they were in the 8-9 matchup before they got hot on the road with the quad 1 wins. They've got back up in that 6 territory. I think there's a chance, not after tonight, but you keep handling business. And if you split with UConn, I think there's a chance St. John's is, going to be knocking on 25, 26 wins with some really good numbers and a chance to maybe be, a 4 seed or something like that. Maybe even a lower 3 seed. So there's still some room to grow. At subdivisions, Justin looks like a young Donnie Baseball, does he? Justin looks like a young Justin. Jared, did you say Justin? Wait, what am I saying? Jared, pop back up here, dude. A young Mattingly? You ever get that?
I don't get no. All I get, someone said it in the comments. I get Dustin from Stranger Things.
I could tell.
I get the occasional Timberlake, and then
I see that
a little bit of
very loose,
Ryan Philippe.
I
don't know. He was in like a 90s actor.
Well, then you should be crushing it on the Dayton scene with all those comparisons.
True
what the
that.
hell, man? You should have figured New York out by now. Justin Timberlake, Ryan Philippe. What the hell's the problem, bro?
I don't know, man.
That's your problem. That's what you think.
Donnie Mattingly. Whoever that is.
That's my
what? Is he an old school player?
Did you just say whoever that is?
Uh-oh. I'm about to get taught. All
right, you got to get off the camera right now. We got to get in the penalty box. Get in the penalty box. I'm going to let that one go. He's young. He's good. I like him. If I don't let that last statement go, I'm going to have to go and search for a new producer. And it's too arduous of a process. I don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the desire. So we're going to strike that one from the record. Wow, that was I actually would prefer if Jared opened up and he said, dude, your YouTube show sucks. I don't know why I signed on to be your producer. You've got no hope. You don't have a modicum of talent. You're a loser. I would almost prefer that than hearing who's Don Mattingly, whoever the hell that is. Look at me. All right, Jared, come back tomorrow in a better state of mind, my friend. Please. What is this here? James Hayes, IP-4DV. Nobody talks Knicks better than BT. I love talking Knicks, man. I love talking basketball. Appreciate that very much. I thank you. I think really, and I've heard this from a lot of people. When I first got hired by 1050, so that was 2003, and they were wretched. That was obviously, I mean, they were going through Herb Williams. I mean, Chaney was there, fired, obviously, sent in a taxi. I mean, God, wow. Obviously, just a litany of horrendous players, and season after season that was lost there. A lot of people that first heard me, and that was the first time they heard me because I was young, and I was starting at 1050, and I think it was April of 03. The first draft may have been Mike Sweeney from Georgetown. I think that was the first draft I covered. And I talked a lot about the Knicks. I remember some of my bosses at the station saying, I don't know, man, you sure you want to talk so much about the Knicks? Yep. I want to talk about the Knicks. One of my passions. I'm talking about the Knicks. I never changed. And we were the home of the Knicks. But the thought was, I mean, they're not really that good. They're not really that interesting. Maybe you talk about some other stuff. No, I'm going to talk about what I want to talk about. And I want to talk about the Knicks. So I did. I talked a lot about the Knicks. And then obviously I was around the Knicks. So I think that brought some credibility. I'm going to tell you that Isaiah Thomas story someday. I was working out in a hotel in Toronto when I was on a road trip with them. And I'm going to tell you about the interaction. I liked Isaiah that I had with Isaiah. He came up to me about Stephon Marbury. It's not like some take job diss of Stephon Marbury, but it was just very, very, very revealing. Very revealing. What is this here? At Armandi Amazing. Armand is amazing. See, that's where it's a little tricky. No hyphen, no delineation there. I see it. I'm like, Armand is amazing. That's one way to read it, but also Armandi's amazing. So, BT, make a list of former ball players before Jared was born and see if he knows them. If not, he has to do research on them. That is a fun game. Hey, Jared, make a notation of that, okay? Don't pop back up on the screen. You're banned from the rest of the show. Don't worry, the ban will be alleviated tomorrow. You're going to come back, I promise. But make a little notation there. Jot that down as my producer. We'll play a little game. And I think the name of the game is going to be, should Jared be allowed to stick around? That's the name of the game. And we'll come up with maybe 10. Now, I'm not going to ask him, where did he go to college? I mean, that's stuff that I was a geek with. I don't expect everybody to know all that stuff or stats or whatever. But there's going to be a consequence where, if he doesn't get at least 6 or 7 of 10, whatever I designate as the passing grade, there's going to have to be a little bit of a consequence there. So I like that. All right. What else we got here? Anything else? Let me see if anything else jumps up. It did throw me for a loop there. I can't believe about Mattingly. My God almighty. Got the Knicks stuff there. Got a little something on Mattingly. Yep. Let's see. All right. What does this say? At Michael Macias 925. On the marking game. Old man BT still trying to school us on the marking game. Hey, I am what I am. I'm pretty happy what I am. I'm not young. I don't think I'm old. Maybe to some of you think that I'm old. That's fine. That's good. I can promise you, old man BT did all right for himself. Most importantly, in the marriage department, which is what really matters. But BT had game. Let's not get it twisted, man. Stephen A. always says he had game. I had game. Anything else here? Yeah. Not letting. That's true. I like this. Amy leaving in 1529, not letting Belly ruin my Harbaugh high today. That's right. That is absolutely true. I want to react to the press conference tomorrow. Obviously, it's tough to react to, said anything. We reacted to the hiring. It's just such a good feeling. You see John Harbaugh walking through the building yesterday, and it's it's just an extra level of reassurance. All right, we're good. Now, it doesn't mean, as I've chronicled many times, that he's an A-plus coach. It's not Pat Riley walking through those halls. It's just not. But it's right below it. And it's going to be accountability. It's going to be professionalism. There's going to be engagement. The messaging is going to be on point, and they're going to be better immediately because he is a really good coach. You want to quibble over as to how good? I don't even know that today's the day to do that. I think the Giants did a really smart thing. And the other thing, too, is I will say this. I saw yesterday when McDermott was fired by the Bills, it's the right move. Even though we won a ton of games, I think it was 50 games over 500 with Buffalo. My goodness. And they fired him. But there's got to be a point where if you're not getting past that hump, I understand it. I think if you brought him back, I think most Bills fans would have been bothered by that. I would have been okay with it because I think he's a really good coach. But I get it, right? But there were some of you who were saying, oh, man, if John Harbaugh, he probably laments taking that Giants job because now the Bills job is open. As much as Dart is really appealing and attractive, geez, don't you think that you'd rather work with Josh Allen? All right, first of all, don't you think that John Harbaugh is smart enough to know that there was a distinct possibility that Sean McDermott was going to get fired? Do you not think that that was the case? Do you think that John Harbaugh, honestly, in all of the thorough research that he's done with the several teams that he did it with, was blindsided? Holy shit. They fired McDermott? What? Wow. No, Because we've been talking about it for 2 years, that he's in the coach's circle. There's no way he was surprised by that. And to me, even if he can hit a button and very quietly undo his commitment to the Giants, and the Bills came with the money and with the power and with Josh Allen and their whole situation being what it is, I still believe that John Harbaugh would be the coach of the Giants, because I think that there's a level of reverence that John Harbaugh has for that franchise that he does not have for the Bills. He respects the Bills. No question. How could you not? They win. They're a functional, tight group. They've got a new stadium coming. Ownership seems to do the right thing. You can respect a run of a franchise, but John Harbaugh is 62. Think about the age John Harbaugh was when Lawrence Taylor was winning 2 championships. And he was coaching when Eli was winning his 2. And all the names going, just the roots of the Giants organization, like the Steelers and like a few others, I think that had incredible appeal. Now, if Jackson Dart was not there, and let's say they still had, I don't know, Tyrod Taylor or Tommy DeVito, or it was just unknown, and they didn't have the first overall pick to draft Mendoza this year, do I think that he's running to take the job? Maybe there would be a little bit of a different speed in his gait to get there. But I think that situation, it's kind of perfect storm as well. The Ravens were done with him, but probably on some level felt it was time to move on, getting a little stale out there after almost 20 years, which happens. I don't care what you do or where you're at, or how successful you are. Things get stale. You want a new change. You want a new voice. You want a new dynamic, right? So I think that was appealing to him. And even without Dart, I think the Giants would have been the destination. Maybe complicated a bit more without Dart. Maybe gives a little more credence to that Bills job. But Dart was there, and he knew that when he was interviewing and when he was going through his process. And he also knew, like we all knew, that there was a high chance, a very high percentage, that McDermott would be fired if and when the Bills got bounced this postseason, which they did. Not surprised. Always wanted to coach the Giants. So Giant fans, enjoy this day. It's going to be awesome. He's going to crush it. He's going to say the sound bites are going to be rolling all over social media. It's a big day. It's a step in the right direction. I'm going to react to that more tomorrow. But that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. Like, subscribe. And Jared's got a little homework to do here. We got to figure this out. He's got a couple of tests to pass before we, I guess, make that long-term commitment to my producer. Very disappointing. Very revealing. Very disappointing. But we're going to have to work through that. And I'm going to have to be able to reconcile that inability to not only know Don Mattingly, but to place him on the proper tier of respect. This is something I'm going to carry around like a weight all day. But that's a me thing. That's not a you thing. We'll resolve that. We'll get him back. He'll be ready to go tomorrow. You guys will be ready to go tomorrow. Good luck to the Johnnies tonight. Looking forward to a good game. Looking forward to reacting to Harbaugh tomorrow. Obviously, the Bellinger watch. A lot of people think that it's resolved today. If it's the Yankees, 5 years, and he takes it, great. I'm happy. I'm not going to change my tune tomorrow. I'm not going to come on Bellinger, 6 years, 7 years, Mets, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, Toronto. Oh, what are the Yankees doing? This is my opinion before anything happens. If he does not want to be a Yankee and he does not want to be here for 5 years, and somebody else goes more and he bounces, see ya. Good riddance. I'm fine with it. And if it's the Mets, I'll talk about the Mets and what it means to them. And then I'll talk about what the next move should be and has to be for the Yankees. But you will not see me just putting on some theatrical show to yell and curse and scream just to get some clicks here. My position is he's good. My position is I like him back. My other position is I don't need him back. And my other real position is he's not great, which is really why I don't need him back. He's good. And there's a difference. So enjoy the rest of your day. Tomorrow, a little recap on the Johnnies as well, the Harbaugh stuff, the baseball stuff. Like it, subscribe it, get the word out there, get in there with the comments. The more you guys, and by the way, I respond to a lot of the comments. I know you guys see that. So it's a very interactive site. I appreciate you guys hanging with me today. Whoop. I appreciate you guys. You know what? Yeah, how's that? How's that look there, Jared? All right. Can you see that? Why don't you get a picture of that? All right. That's the guy. That is Mattingly right there. All right. So enjoy what remains of your day, and I will catch you guys tomorrow at 10 right here on BT Unleashed. Peace out, guys. I'll see you.